speakers from this morning. I think we have all taken away some very inspiring and important information. So what I would like for the panel to do is if you could just briefly introduce yourselves and tell us about your company, your profession, and how you made your way into that line of work. Kira, want to start?
I'm a W for a reason. Kira Watkins, DM Writer Insurance Agency. Actually, 4th generation in family business. So kind of how I got into it, but I didn't start in it. Actually started with Enterprise out of college. I did the whole, run around and.
What's Enterprise?
Peanut gallery. We picked you up. But it did help me learn how to run a business. So when the opportunity came up, I did move into insurance, and it actually makes sense a lot. The risk management factor is really, my mind works well with it, and obviously it runs in genetics then at that point, I think. So here I am, and I run it with my sister. So.
Heidi?
Hi, I'm Heidi Taylor, President of Morton Hospital, Vice President of Finance. I am a 3rd generation Tauntonian. I was actually born at Morton Hospital, and I like to say I never left. My grandparents owned and operated Highland Heights roller rink that my grandfather built in 1952. So I grew up really with a tight understanding of community and giving back. And I was raised, thinking always about what can we do for our community, how can we care for them, a really great work ethic. I went to school at St. Mary's Elementary School, which is right next door to Morton Hospital. And I used to look at the hospital and say I wanted to work there someday. So fast forward, 1997, I started working in patient registration. I was hired by Maria Leo. And I worked my way up the finance ladder. I've always really loved numbers, but loved taking care of people as well. So that was my path in healthcare. I did leave there in 2006 to spread my wings a little bit. At that time, Morton was a standalone hospital. I went to Good Samaritan, which was part of Steward Healthcare. I became the CFO there. And then during my tenure at Good Sam, Steward acquired Morton Hospital, which I was thrilled about because in these days you can't stand alone. It's really impossible. I give kudos to Sturdy, still on their own, but most hospitals are now part of a system. So about 10 years ago, the team that was at Morton was going to a different Steward hospital, and I called corporate and said, can I please go home? So I came back to Morton about 10 years ago as the CFO, and then 2 years later became CFO and COO, and then in 2019 became President and CFO.
Wow. Nice.
So I'm Mitzi Keating. I'm just a CPA. Why do I have to go next?
I'm not.
So I'm a partner at Citrin Cooperman. I'm both a CPA and a CFE, which is kind of the other fun part of my job, which is a certified fraud examiner. So I'm the person that you call when you don't know why your numbers aren't working the way you think they should be working. I got into numbers, I guess I would say. Maybe it's also genetic. My father was a mathematics professor. He taught at Northeastern University for 25 years, and his longer tenure has been at Massasoit Community College for about 55 years. He was the longest, he was employee number 2. And he just retired, although he's still teaching now. Anyways, accounting was just one of the options available to me. I had a mathematical brain, and when I went to college, it was really kind of alphabetically the first option I saw, and I was like, that sounds good. So I went into accounting, and I mean, why not, right, logically. So then, I went into accounting, got my bachelor's degree, I got my master's degree in accounting. I'm a little bit of an accounting dork. I got the highest score in Massachusetts on the CPA exam, and the second highest score in the country. So a lot of fun things, but I like helping business owners. I do a lot of specialty consulting is really what I do at this point in time. So, anything you can kind of think of. One of the specialty areas I started was the cannabis advisory services practice. for cannabis businesses who also should, have access to the same professional service levels that other business owners have as well. We are the 16th largest professional services firm in the United States. We keep growing, we keep acquiring, and happy to be here.
Sorry.
That's why I don't want to go first. Okay. I'm Ronnie Kassiff. I'm the co-founder of Boston BuildHERS, which is a wholly women-owned and operated construction subcontractor. We're primarily in the multifamily affordable housing space. And the way that we found our way to it is my business partner, Susie, and I both have firsthand experience with affordable housing in Boston. And what we found is that it is the single most important socioeconomic stepping stone that can actually break the generational poverty. And so we want obviously to create more affordable housing, but what we've found as well is that traditionally, unfortunately with affordable housing, a lot of corners tend to be cut. And we feel that low income shouldn't mean low quality. We want people to step into their homes and have it feel like just that, a home. And so we want to not only improve the quantity of low-income housing, but also the quality. And we want to do that through a combination of a keen eye, attention to detail, and a perspective that can only be achieved through diversity in a traditionally male-dominated industry.
All right, I'm not one for public speaking, so I'm Katie. I'm the electrician. So I kind of got to become an electrician through a different route. It's kind of like proof that you're never too late to change your career. I actually went to school for zoology. I have a bachelor in science in zoology, so people don't usually see that coming. I worked for the New England Aquarium for about 5 years, and while working there, we did a lot of hands-on work. Probably the first time I ever used a Sawzall was there. A hammer drill was there because we were building out a lot of the systems and all the life support for the animals. We did a lot of plumbing, and the more I did that, the more I realized I kind of like being hands-on, and kind of wanted to keep animals more of a passion and not for a job. So I just decided I wanted to go into a trade one day, and I kind of was thinking electrical, plumbing, not really sure, and ultimately I just landed on electrical just because 50-50 just went that way. Okay, I love that. Feeding sharks wasn't scary enough. Now I'm risking setting houses on fire. So yeah, to get into that career field, I just I found a company that had a free apprenticeship program, so I don't have to pay for schooling again. And over those 4 years I took to get my work hours and get my license, they had free schooling over those 4 years spread out over that. So yeah, I landed myself in the electrical trade. Where do we go from there?
No, that's great.
Yeah.
So with the theme of the conference being resilience and adaptability, I was curious how you feel you've engaged your personal resilience at times throughout your career. So anyone can take this. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if you think about how resilient you have to be in your individual careers, how have you engaged that over the years?
I can talk with the whole Stewart debacle, if anybody heard about that. About a year and a half ago, Stewart filed for bankruptcy, but really the challenges started 2 years before that. But many people wouldn't know because myself and my team really tried to protect the staff and community from the challenges that Stewart was having. I truly believe you are as successful as the team around you and the people around you, and I'm so fortunate to have an amazing team who, although they're not all born at Morton, you would never know the difference because they love the hospital as much as I do. So we really had to dig deep because taking care of the community is a huge responsibility and not one we take lightly. We know now more than ever patients have so many options and will travel as opposed to decades ago. So we really try to protect the community and the staff from all of the noise of Stewart. We did a great job. Our inpatient volume actually grew 40% over the past 5 years, and our OR volume grew 30%. So really it was, digging deep within us to put the mission first and just not taking focus off of that. And if you're focused on a mission and you have a great team around you, you can accomplish anything. It was absolutely extremely difficult, but we made it through, and we were fortunate enough to have Brown Healthcare acquire us last October, and we have a whole new lease on life. So it's, if you want something, just make sure you have the right support staff around you. And as significant as a mountain may seem or a challenge may seem, as long as you're moving forward, you're making progress. And even if it's that, 3 steps forward and 2 back, you're still netting 1 gain, so just keep going.
Thank you.
I'd like to build on that as well. I think it's so true and it's so important. I think what makes us succeed, as women, we are a lot more community driven and community oriented than our male counterparts, and I think that that's a superpower, right? So I agree, we absolutely need to rely on the team around us. I'm lucky I have an incredible business partner. She kind of keeps us safe. We always joke that I'm Icarus and she's Daedalus, because Icarus flew into the sun, but I actually listen to her. But I think it's really important to, use our strengths and surround ourselves with community. And the unfortunate thing is, as women, it's still true that we have to work twice as hard to get half as far. And so it's important to just have that driving force within you, keep going, keep trying, keep working hard, work twice as hard, work 3 times as hard, work 4 times as hard, but then really lean and rely on your community, your business partners, your friends, your family, because no woman is an island and we can't do that alone.
Well said.
And to piggyback on that too, so one of the things at Citrin Cooperman, so as in the accounting profession, we've noticed there's been a lot of different trends and changes. And typically entering into the accounting profession from a male and female perspective, it's about 50-50. It's actually more women are entering accounting as a profession after college than men at this point. It's around like 54-46. I'm glad I can still do math. Put me on the spot myself. But that being said, so what happens at public accounting firms is that as you move up in rank and the typical levels, and you go staff, and then you're a senior and you're a manager and a director, and then you become a partner, which is an owner of the organization, what happens is that women are traditionally underrepresented at the top. And at our firm, at this point in time, we're probably about 15% female owned at this point. So when you think about that, and we come up to our partners meetings, we look around the room and we don't see this. We see the complete opposite of this. And that is a challenge in the accounting profession. A lot of it is because we work ridiculously long hours multiple times during the year. It is difficult, without the right supports in the firm, to have children and to have a family and to, be able to have it all, right? As some of this has kind of been presented today. So, at the firm, and Jessie, who's one of my partners who's here today too, we're part of the Women's Leadership Group, and our goal at the firm is to elevate and make that community for women in an organization in which that's not necessarily a primary driving factor. However, when we do that, what you see is that community. You see that when you bring diverse teams to the table to help, serve clients and provide solutions, you get such a nice mix of different perspectives, and it's really like a rewarding aspect to work in that industry, to have that type of support in the group.
Well said.
I'll tag off of all of this. I feel like today is great because everyone's all about women empowerment. But, being an electrician is definitely you're usually the solo girl on a job site. And everywhere you go, from day one, I had to try out to be part of this apprenticeship program. I'm the only girl at the tryout, surrounded by guys, and you just feel everyone's eyes on you constantly. So throughout most of my apprenticeship, I would show up at work, having so much nerves, just being worried to present myself to be good enough, because you do feel like you're constantly trying to prove yourself, where a man just kind of shows up and everyone just expects, he can do his job, he's a girl, but you show up, there's just always so many questions. Why did you want to become an electrician? Are you the boss's daughter? Oh, is your husband in the trades? There has to be a male-driven reason for me to want to be in the trades. And no, my husband's not in the trades, he does sales. So yeah, I think it's kind of like hard work. You have to be good at being uncomfortable to succeed. Now, I used to work for a large company, and now, because I had my daughter, I went out on my own. And that's been like a whole thing. Even working for a large company, I was the first one at my company to use PFMLA for that leave for going out with my daughter. They didn't know how to handle it and all the rules and, you know, or how to handle a pregnant female electrician in the field. So yeah, there's been a lot of firsts. So I think resilience is a part of it, and just, you know, knowing that everywhere you go, you're kind of going to be the center of attention, and you hate it. I hate even being out there. But yeah, women with a sense of community, you said, like, I liked that a lot, because now working for myself and dealing with my customers one-on-one, they appreciate how transparent I am, how I can kind of read the room and, you know, explain things to them when they're so used to my male counterparts coming up to job sites and mansplaining. You know, it just gives women in their home an extra set of comfortability having a female electrician in their home. So yeah, just kind of tagging off all that stuff. Good for you for trailblazing.
Do you have anything to add, Kira?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, let's go.
I think we've already discussed, like, obviously here is a very different atmosphere than, you know, many other rooms that we walk into. You know, in the insurance industry in general, it's pretty much a mixed bag, but same as the partners. Like, if we go into an event and it's agency principals, Christy and I are usually the only women or very few women in the room. And there are moments when I even, like, get to an event and I know that it's gonna be in that type of situation, and I kind of like wait a second, and sometimes I'll wait for her to get there, and I'm like, no, like, you can go in by yourself, you don't need to wait. But like, we're social creatures, right? So like, we kind of latch on to people that we know, and it's just, I think being present and like continuing to ask, like, we've had some of our marketing reps like not ask us to golf tournaments because it's like, oh, do they want to golf? Like, I don't know. Like, and so now, like, we're getting those invitations like every year, and they love having us there, and it's awesome to feel that way, because you feel the shift in the industry, and like everyone coming into the workforce, same. It's you know, and it'll be nice to see the you know, the higher levels fill with women as time goes on. It is happening, but it's you definitely still notice it, and I don't know, I like to think that, you know, bright side, in a room of men, you can definitely stand out. You just gotta make it the right way. So, that's all I got.
So, no, great. I mean, I think all five of you are a true testament to the power of trailblazing and leading from a place of empathy and care. And so a few of you touched on the challenges that you've faced in your professions, and I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate any more about how you've adapted to something that might have been unexpected as you've built your careers, from a standpoint of adaptability.
Oh, I've got a good one. So there's a lot to adapt to in construction. You know, definitely the not getting invited to golf tournaments resonated with me, because that's what everyone does, and being the only woman on a job site. I would say that whatever you do, make sure that you can adapt and bring just as much to the table as your counterparts. And funny thing happened this week. So we're working on an HVAC project, HVAC, so air conditioning, for a 42-unit multifamily home in Boston. And we had a delivery scheduled for Friday, and so my laborers weren't on site. I get a phone call from the foreman on the job, and he says, hey, there's a ton of boxes here, you gotta deal with it. Call my laborers, they're an hour and a half away on a different job site. Call my business partner, she's gone. I'm like, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? I get there so fast that my Apple Watch tracks it as a run. So one, I just get there, right? I don't have a plan. I'm like, maybe someone can help me. Other laborers are also not on the site, so I can barely ask anyone else for help. The foreman has a shoulder injury, so what do? I lift 350 pounds worth of HVAC equipment inside by myself. And I'm just really, really proud. I'm like, thank goodness I work out. So I would say just be ready to dive into any challenge, because you never know what's gonna get thrown your way. And so if you're ready, it'll really set you apart from the competition.
Yeah, well said. Anyone else?
I just have to agree with that. It's like, I mean, so many times you're thrown into situations, and as a female, I think I'd be intimidated by all the guys at work constantly, but you know what, they're really not, they have an ego about them. They can't back what they're fronting. Literally like.
Wait, whoa, say that again. And say it loud and proud.
It's true, like, really,
Did everyone hear what she said?
It wasn't
They
hard.
can't back what they're fronting. That's genius.
It really, and all in all, it wasn't that hard to be a female electrician because, I mean, when you have your wits about you, as long as you pay attention and do your job correctly, they look at you like the standards are low. So even if you're doing average work, they're like, oh my God, she's amazing. Like, it doesn't take much to impress. And really, like, as long as you can pay attention and be diligent with your work, like, you just excel so quickly. Like, so there's no need, like, and the more you work in the field, just learn. There's no need to be intimidated by it because everyone's learning. In the electrical field, everyone's constantly learning. Technology's constantly changing. But yeah, I just gonna say you just gotta power through and trust yourself. That's the biggest thing, is not thinking I'm worth enough, not thinking I'm good enough all the time, when most of the time when I really start comparing, I'm, you know,
Probably better.
we're better.
Yeah.
I might not be as strong all the time, but I can get into those tiny spaces.
Mitzi or Heidi, do you have anything to add?
I liked your saying when you said be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I
Yes,
think that
that's
like
exactly
hits
it.
the nail on the head. And I would say be okay with failing, but don't be afraid to try. I know when I got the phone call about assuming the president role, I was like, I don't want to be president. I didn't even want to be CFO. I wanted to work for Maria. And I kept getting, I kept getting these phone calls. Oh, Heidi, you know, you're going to do this next, and you're going, like, I didn't apply for one job except for Maria's. Work for her, and you know, I said to my husband, I can't be a president. Like, I'm not a president. I'm just this Taunton girl that's like, you know, trying to care for my family and the community. He's like, you're already doing it. You already, you know, you've set the stage. People have recognized you. And I'm like, but I wasn't trying. So I took the leap, and I'm glad I did, obviously. But just don't be afraid. And if you fail, at least you don't have a regret for not trying. And you can pivot and try it a different way, or realize like, no, I did not want that, but at least I can say I tried it. So don't be afraid of failure. And I love the be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's okay. And we're all here to catch each other, so it's okay.
And, you know, just to kind of go off that theme of extra step, one of the things when I started the Cannabis Advisory Services Practice Group that really was important to me was the fact that that particular industry, whether you like it or not, whatever your feelings are for, you know, state legal, federally illegal cannabis, the states have made a push to incorporate minorities, women, and those who have been impacted by the war on drugs, to give licenses out to people that fit certain criteria related to those who have been previously impacted. And so what that did when I started the practice about 8 years ago is it really exposed me to all the different types of business owners that now we have today. And I have the most diverse clientele, I think, out of anybody in our entire firm in terms of the people I work with, the owners that I work with, and I have more women business owners than I've ever had before in any other industry that I used to serve. And what's really great about it is I do feel there's that opportunity where women do want to work with women in their profession, or in, you know, that are supporting their profession. So, you know, like you say, Caity, when you walk in, it's like you feel comfortable with, here's your female electrician in my home.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable with your female CPA in your business, right? And so if you're a female business owner, there is that comfort level too, and it is nice, like what Kira said before too, right? We're seeing that happen, I think, in the next generations. And you know, while you might not feel like you're the president, you absolutely are,
Yeah,
right?
you
And
are.
you were chosen for that for a reason, and it really is, you know, kind of an amazing era that I think we're coming into. And just stay positive and keep that going.
I just wanted to like top that off. I think, one of something that I guess maybe I didn't think of originally, but has made me successful is what women are good at, and we're good at connecting and building relationships and relying on each other, and that I think is, even doing that with men, not just with women, is making us successful. So don't discount that, because it's a huge skill, so.
Yeah, and for fear of failure, if you fail upwards. The guys are doing it. It's not that hard. I fail upwards all the time. So don't even view failure as a failure. It's only a failure if you didn't learn anything from it.
Exactly. And one of my last questions is, thinking back to when you were starting in your current careers, what would be something that you would want your younger self to know?
Start sooner, work harder. It's amazing how much we tend to be our own worst enemies. So one of my favorite statistics, for a woman to apply for a job, do you know how much of the work criteria she feels that she has to meet in order to apply? Anyone? 100%, correct. Do you know what criteria percentage men will apply to a job for?
40.
30%. 30%. So we just gotta go for it more, and I wish I knew that when I was younger. So even if you feel like you are extremely unqualified or underqualified, go for it anyway and trust yourself that you'll figure it out, because chances are you probably will. There are a lot of people sitting in a lot of important seats that aren't good at what they do and don't care to learn. As long as you're willing to grow and learn and put your best foot forward and work really, really hard, you will succeed. You're already beating out most of the competition. So don't be your own gatekeeper.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like constantly, like, I will be intimidated to take on jobs that I don't have 100% experience with. So I will do my research before accepting a job, taking on the job, being like, all right, like, I've actually never run into this issue, and I will want to know, like, X, Y, and Z, everything I need to know about this job, so I feel confident going in, can deal with any problem that arises. Where if I'm actually taking my master's electrician classes, once again, the only girl in a room full of guys, and they're all, it's the ego thing again. They're like, oh yeah, no, I've never done that, just take it on, throw a big number at it, it's okay. Like, they constantly will take on work that they have no idea what they're doing with. Whereas, like, as a female, no, it's like we want to go in with 100% of the knowledge, and just being able to provide the best service possible. And maybe it's just
Commercial
mindset. Like,
insurance person to me is like, oh my
you
God.
It's like, I just want to be transparent, and I want to serve my customers the best I can and be like, the best electrician they's ever got. But yeah, a lot of guys, once again, good at fronting.
Yeah.
Can I side question that? Do you think your customers appreciate that you actually do the research first, or do you lose business, do you think, that way? I'm just curious.
No,
which
yeah,
way is
I
it
mean, I
leaning?
feel like, yeah, I do lose business that way sometimes, but, and like, so, it happened recently, ran into a job, and then I was unsure about this certain project. I reached out to a bunch of my old coworkers. None of them have ever ran into that issue before. I did the research, I reached out, I figured out ways to solve his problem, but ultimately, in order to solve his problem, it's now a lot more expensive of a job.
Yeah.
So, by doing all that research, I learned a lot. I know how now to fix this problem if I run into it again, but he didn't want to end up accepting the work because he knew what he was going to have to get it into, and he knew the cost of it now. So yeah, it's like sometimes doing the research and providing it all ahead of time, you might not get it, but also I make customers happier in that way, that I'm not just being like, oh yeah, we're gonna get it done, and then slap them with a huge bill afterwards that they're sticker shocked with. So it's like, I'd rather do that, because now most of my work I get is all from word of mouth. Like, I don't need to advertise, it's just word of mouth. Yeah.
And now because you did that, you're ready for the next one, right?
Yeah.
Mitzi or Heidi, anything you tell your younger selves?
My younger self, I learned at St. Mary's, which is something I try to live by every day, which is to treat others the way that you want to be treated. And I think, that can really get you through many things. We all, I'm sure, have experienced situations where we're encountering people that aren't happy or satisfied or frustrated, and I really just try to always respond with respect and empathy, and they might not walk away happy, but you can, you know, go to bed at night knowing that you did what you know, wanted to do or taught to do. So just treat others the way you want to be treated, and everything does happen for a reason, even though we may not know it today or tomorrow. That's kind of my thing.
Nice. And I would say, like what Scarlett said, a lot of what Scarlett said was very resonant. When I started in public accounting, I went to work at Ernst & Young, one of the, you know, big 4 accounting firms. And I was there and I realized that I did not want to do this. It was not the right environment for me. It was not going to be something that I was going to be happy about, in terms of they wanted you to sit at your desk, you know, 46 hours a week, just in case somebody who's been here a year longer than you will call you up and say, I need you to come up here and foot this schedule, which means just type all these numbers into a spreadsheet and make sure they add up to what they were supposed to be. Because they really didn't kind of see you as a person. They saw you as a number, and you're part of, you know, just this process to keep the work moving forward. And so I probably had the shortest stint at one of the big 4 that I can imagine. I think I was there for like 8 weeks, and I was like, I'm done with this place. And so I think, you know, I'm very grateful for that experience, because again, like what Scarlett's saying, you know, you want to find something that you're excited about that fits who you are, but isn't killing yourself and killing your spirit. And so a couple times in my career, I've made a move. So I went to become a partner in another CPA firm. Well, I started as a staff and I worked my way up, but it wasn't fulfilling me after a while. And I ended up getting involved in local politics. It's where I met a bunch of you as well, when I just decided I was gonna run and beat the chairman for the Board of Selectmen. Why? Don't ask me. It's like, I'm a recovering politician, it's a bad idea. But from that perspective, right, at my other firm, it just, something didn't feel right, it didn't fit. And I went and I answered an ad to go become a partner at Citrin Cooperman. And what was exciting about it was the ability to be a leader, because the founder, Joel Cooperman himself, who hired me, just said, do your thing. Like, I know you can do this. And having someone who believes in you really kind of opened up that opportunity to believe in yourself and just kind of take it and run with it. And I think, you know, that's something that, you know, it took a couple iterations for me to get there. But if I could go back to my younger self and just say, you know, just be true to yourself, trust yourself, and make sure that it feels right to you. Because you never want to be, you know, sitting in a situation where you're not happy. You're not doing the things that fulfill you. And there's always stuff in your job that you have to do that is not fun, right? Like, I gotta get billing done this weekend. I'm really excited about like Sunday night watching like football and doing my billing, right? Not exciting, right? Not what I like to do, but it's part of the job itself. But the majority of the work that I do is building relationships with clients and helping them solve their problems and being someone that they call because they want to talk about the strategy of their business. That is fulfilling, and I think that's something that is important to kind of keep in mind. That I guess it took me 20 some odd years to really get to that point, but if I could articulate that to my 22-year-old self, that'd be great. I'd cut out a lot of heartache and sitting at Ernst & Young.
For 8 weeks.
Yeah, for 8 weeks. It was like the terrible 8 weeks, I know.
Anything you want to add, Carrie?
Oh, did I not answer?
To your younger self?
Oh, shoot. Yes, okay, I got it. I am a guilty people pleaser. I have been forever. Not that I'm guilty and I feel like I need to, but I like to help people, so I've become a people pleaser. But it probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, I learned how to set boundaries, and I thought that was very important. And I do not take on something unless I know I can give it 100%. So when it comes down to taking on, and for those who know me, I'm a busy person. I do a lot of stuff, but I do it all wholly. And if there's something that someone asks me, like, can you take this on? I say, what's the time commitment? What are you expecting of me? Like, I ask a lot of questions because I don't want to do something, we'll say, I can't swear on that, right? Have a, how's that? That was the nicest I could be.
Yeah.
So, setting boundaries I think is huge. And it's okay to set those, because the only people who are not gonna like them are the ones who benefit from your lack of boundaries. And remember that, because that's huge. So that's what I would tell myself, because it took me till I was in my mid to late 30s to learn that, and I think that I would have benefited learning that earlier, so.
Does anyone else have any questions they wanna ask? Good.
So, it looks like you guys are all in male-dominated fields. What is something that you've come across that has motivated you to work that much harder being a woman in that industry?
And one thing that we were saying when we were talking about this is it's not that they're male dominated, it's they're male populated, right?
I wasn't trying to man bash earlier. Like, I've had plenty of male counterparts that were like a brother, like an uncle, plenty that I can lean on today for help. So clarification there.
No, and I agree with that too.
Yeah.
It's, but I think for me, something is just kind of seeing the gaps that would benefit from mine and my business partner's perspective. And you know, we all have different journeys based on our experiences. It's not necessarily a separation of men, women. You know, there's overlap within both. So I definitely also do love my male counterparts. But I think what I saw that really motivated me to work harder is just the gaps that weren't being filled. So sometimes it would be, I think a big one in my industry too is lack of communication. And that's something that my business partner and I really bring to the table, and our clients love it. We're shockingly ahead of schedule. With anyone in construction could say that, like, that being on schedule is impossible. So being ahead of schedule is just unheard of. And it's because of our communication. We see this huge issue with lack of communication in construction. The subcontractors aren't speaking with one another, they're not speaking with the GC is not speaking with the owner. And that's where you run into problems, and that's where you run into delays. And when we're talking about multifamily affordable housing, a delay means that that's someone without a home for a week, 2 weeks, a month, multiple months. And so that's crucial. And so I think that's kind of what motivated me, where, you know, it's, even if something isn't our job on the site, we're still gonna call it out, we're still gonna get the ball rolling on the conversation, because the end goal is so important to us.
I love everything you just said.
Do we still I was gonna say, the gaps and like just having the diversity in general. Like one experience is I volunteer on the board for the Middleborough YMCA, and the board is fairly diverse. There are women on the board, but then as vice chair, I also sit on the Old Colony Y board that meets up in Brockton, and that, for lack of a better term, is like a bunch of old white men. And there's not a lot of diversity in conversation and opinions until you bring in different types of people. And I think, you know, we're talking about women here in general and empowerment, but like, for anyone who's seen Jill Beresford, like her talks are fantastic on like, if you have like all men in a workforce and leadership and all women in a workforce and leadership, like neither one is gonna be 100% great. Like you need that difference and the balance and the counterbalance to work well, because it's the different, like, for example, in May, whenever we were talking about it, but like several months ago, May, April, or whatever, there was a conversation about how the Y had to take DEI language out of their policies, and that was a hard conversation, but having men and women and people of different backgrounds in the room to see all the perspectives made a huge difference. And I think just filling those roles, because we need to be there, we need to be at those tables, is really, really, really important. So I think that motivates me, so.
Yeah.
I have a question. So I talked to quite a few of the ladies in here, and I promoted it through the Great Chamber, who's helped me as well. But I have a women's event next week that I mentioned to some of you, Enterprising Women, and we do it every year, and it's at Margaritaville. But
Woo.
yeah, yeah, it's not. There's no margaritas though, not at 11 a.m.
Oh, there can be.
But we I guess you could go get one. No, trust me, there'll be sure some drinkers. Maybe me before I moderate. So there's 2 panels, but I moderate a panel, and then Kim Marchian moderates the other panel. There's 3 people on each panel, and we have already put together. We go pretty deep with some of the questions: women's perfectionism, mental health, work equality, stuff like that. But if you were to be asked something, if you were on the panel, something that you're struggling with in 2025, what's something that you would want to be asked if you were on that panel, just like you are right now? Is there something in particular that you would like to be touched on as being a woman today?
I would say, one thing is how can women support women within the organization? Because I think in a lot of instances, I mean, again, as I mentioned, you know, we're like 15% female owned at the top. When we sit at a partners meeting that we're going to in 2 weeks with 650 people there, right? We look around and we're like, wow, there's, you know, I'm not doing that now. 75. You know, but you look around, right, and you're in your rows and your tables and nobody's there. And a lot of times too, and I'm on the planning committee for it because I spoke up. But when you look at the initiatives that we have in our firm, it's the same women every time who are speaking up, who are volunteering for these positions. So of the 75 women, there's only 15 of us that are doing every single event and stepping into those roles. And I think it's really trying to figure out how to support females in leadership within your own organization, because that's something where we all tend to know the stats on, you know, we don't talk about ourselves, but somebody else will give you the accolades that, you know, you should be able to feel comfortable enough saying yourself.
Can I just say, you were saying, Mitzi, that, you know, you step in and organise things. That also overflows into running a family, and that's where our roles really come into their own, and we're expected to stay within that little boundary. And we're good at multitasking. If you want a husband to do all that shit, you're never able to do it. No, we're used to multitasking. We're used to keeping in the air.
Coming.
Do you have a question?
That leads to my question, Julia. How do you balance work, life? If you're running your own business, and it might come up at 10 o'clock at night, like you gotta take that business call, or you're at home. How are you guys finding a balance between work and life? Because
Are you directing that at anyone in particular?
all of them, whoever wants to talk. If they found balance, we would like that.
I think being like the fact that we're multitaskers helps so much. The amount of times I show up at work and I see all like my male counterparts being like, "Oh, this is the lunch my wife packed for me," and I'm like, "Well, my husband didn't pack my lunch." You know, and there's the fact that like for me working for myself, I can't go and do emergency calls because I'm expected to be at home and be there for my toddler, which I love, I appreciate. It's just one thing, you know, you just have to learn your limits and your boundaries. And you know, the reason I work for myself is because I can make my own schedule and I can be there for my daughter when I need to be. So you just gotta, you know, keep that notebook going, remember to write down your notes, and just keep on multitasking. It really is like the heart of it.
Yeah, and the truth that a lot of people don't talk about and a lot of people won't tell you, because, you know, we are, as women, we are expected to run the household. If you're running your own business, that's hard. In terms of balance, sometimes you can't. And you have to understand what you're willing to give up, because I had concert tickets that I was super excited about, front row. I had to sell them because there was a networking event, and that led to business. I am right now, in the startup phase of my business especially, back then, I was probably the worst partner to my partner. I told him I can't even see you Monday through Friday. I don't see him in person during the week. I barely even talk to him. We're lucky, at 5 p.m. he'll send me a text and ask if I'm alive. And you can't do it without a supportive partner, first of all. I'm very lucky to have a supportive partner, but you have to be willing to give things up. You have to understand your goals and know, is it worth it? And it doesn't mean that by being a business owner, you can't have a family or you're gonna give it up or you have to be willing to lose it, but you can't have it all, so decide for yourself what's the most important for you and what are you willing to give up. Because if you try to have it all, you will crash and burn.
I would just add that that has been really challenging for me. I have a 13-year-old, but she started coming to the hospital with me the day she was born, and now when she visits, she is like she's one of my team members, helping at cookouts and rounding on the floors. I definitely have had to sacrifice a lot, but having her understand the why, like this is where mommy works because she's helping the community, we're making people better, and that was important for me so she didn't resent me for not being home often. And now that she's 13, she actually wants to go into healthcare as well, which is great. But it definitely has been a challenge, but I think if your kids and friends and spouses can understand your mission and what your goals are and why, that makes when you do have to sacrifice things with them a little bit easier for everybody to understand. It's not that you don't want to be there, it's that you can't be. And some people will go to every soccer game or whatever it may be. I'm lucky if I go to one, but when I go, I'm all in. And that's the other important thing is you might not be able to be there often, but when you are there, just be all in, because they notice.
Love that. Yeah, and I would say too, I mean, like, Kira and I have known each other for quite some time, and also, we network together, but our kids are also friends. And that's another piece too, which is kind of cool, when you can find other people that, it's okay to bring your children to, networking events or, hanging out with them and talking about business and trying to incorporate that. But for the longest time, I mean, public accounting is nice because it is very flexible. If I need to go or want to go to my children's sporting events, I go. I make my schedule around where I can. I can do that most of the time. Obviously, there's times that I can't. But my children grew up believing that there were 5 seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall, and tax. So, when you're working 6 days a week, or sometimes 7 days a week, and you're going in all the time, it's important that, my kids would come to the office with me. Even, now, sometimes if I have to go to the Providence office, my kids want to go to the Providence Mall, so I'll drop them off there, right? It's like in the summer, like they'll go to the mall and hang out, and then I'll bring them home after. But they're 17 and 15 at this point in time, so, the kids have kind of grown up, and it's a lot easier. I would find it to be very, very difficult today to have younger kids. I think it's just, I don't think it's gonna be any easier now. Maybe it wasn't easy then, but you just kind of find a way to make it work. And as Kira said, boundaries are huge because you have to believe in what you are protecting. And you always have to protect your time because you'll never get that back.
Yep. Where's Valerie?
She's at the back of the room.
Back.
Oh,
Valerie. Back. How many board meetings did my kids come to? They used to sit in Valerie's office in the back because that's when the bus came at 9 o'clock at that time, and our meetings were at 7:30, so we would bring them there.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think the dog. He didn't go. Did he?
Say you don't remember.
I don't remember. But sorry.
Okay.
My question, it is directed to Caity.
Nope.
And I'm sorry, but it just stuck with me very hard. You mentioned something about be good being uncomfortable and be good about being the center of attention in some sense because you're different. Until today, I still experience that a lot because when I talk about all these problems about payroll, people's like, what are you talking about and what do you know? So, how do you, can you give us one example that one moment that you just stuck with you and you were like, I'm gonna overcome this uncomfortable moment and I'm just gonna be good at it.
Yeah, the amount of uncomfortable moments I've had, it's hard to pinpoint things. I mean, I've even had to deal with coworkers misunderstanding my niceness for feelings for them. Yeah, awkward. Male crying in a van situation.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Really, you just gotta take every moment at a time and take a deep breath and breathe through these awkward situations where you get flustered and red and feel uncomfortable, knowing that you're doing everything the right way. I don't know if you're looking for like a certain example in particular, like, I mean,
No, like,
it's
I
so
think
hard
that's
to think back
actually
about.
good, because oftentimes I'm like, what do you know? And like the challenge, when the challenge, especially a male, starts like, what do you know? How are you telling me, you girl?
Yes, you have to remember that you know what you're talking about and to trust yourself. Being in big construction, I'm running a scissor lift going through a tiny doorway, and all of a sudden I'm surrounded by 6 dudes telling me how to operate a scissor lift. Like, it's a joystick, dude. All I gotta do is go left or right. But, you know, they all think that they need to help instruct you, and, you know, that's when, you know, expletives come out and, you know, tell them to F off. And that you got this. You just have to really, like, be confident in what you know, because, you know, you got this, basically.
So to Heather's point, your window of tolerance definitely fluctuates.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When you were discussing how like someone should believe in you, like for all of us, Heidi believes in all of us at the hospital. And when I started, I worked for facilities. I was just a department secretary. I didn't really know much I didn't know much about facilities. So when my director, he went out for leave, I had to take over, and I had my team to rely on, but I also had Heidi. And I learned so much, and it was nice to know that she believed in me. And today, now I'm a facilities manager, and I owe it all to her because she believed in me.
And she works in a male population.
There you go.
The only female. Everything, and it makes me like, now I know what I feel comfortable, because all these guys, you know, like I'm the only girl, and I'm like, they're so nice to me though, like, but I know how I talk to them, like, oh, you're my favorite plumber, can you do me a job?
Yeah.
But they never.
Good girl. Work the ego.
They never look down on me. All as men, they never look down on me. They always, I'm like, wow, a woman being in facilities, it's amazing, because they actually look up to me, you know?
Yeah,
It's
I
nice
bet
to
they
see.
do. That's awesome.
And as close as I am to retirement, Heidi hires me from another steward facility to manage that. I see her. So
I don't see age, I see qualification. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Anything else? Well, ladies, thank you so much. You're true trailblazers. We appreciate your time.